outreach program for area daycares and preschools. And when she's not at the library, she loves spending time with her husband and 3 kids, and now she has tons of time to do that, as do we all. And I'm so grateful for her to present. I've seen her presentation, and it's super cool. There's a lot of really great points in it that I love. I was a public librarian for a long time, and I worked with homeschool populations a lot. They were one of my favorites, so I was excited to be able to intro this. I think that's everything on my end. Eunice, did I miss anything? If not,
I think that's it. I've started the recording, and Bree, you should be able to start sharing whenever you're ready.
Okay, so let's try it, everybody. This is our first presenter session of Kids First. It's going to be amazing. So here we go.
All right, well, welcome everybody to the first session here. I am super excited to be here with you guys. This is definitely a first opportunity for me to present something like this over the internet and Zoom. So as like all of you, I'm sure we're all learning. So there might be hiccups along the way, but we'll make through it. And I appreciate your grace and patience as we go. Yeah, so like Angie said, I've been at the Ames Public Library for 10 years now, almost. In June, I'll be here 10 years. Time has flown by, and I've gone through like moving libraries and new libraries and all kinds of things. And the homeschooling, serving the homeschooling population in Ames has been part of what I have kind of been in charge of. Ooh, I might be there now. Did it work? You can see me now? All right. So serving the homeschool population is part of what I have done all these 10 years, and I want to throw it out there that we are in a really good place right now with our homeschooling initiatives and our programs and the people coming into the library, but it has taken me 10 years to get there. So homeschooling families in general tend to be some of them are very private. They like to do their own thing. Not all of them work on the same schedule and stuff. And so it's really hard to kind of break into that. So it's taken us a long time, but we have built it up into something that is really robust and really great right now. And so we'd like to share that with you. And hopefully some of these things will help you. If you don't already reach out to that population, maybe you can, or if you do, maybe just kind of take it to the next level. So we're going to jump in. Make sure my slides are going here. There we go. So this is just, that's me and this session description. I like to throw this in there because if you print it out and want to reference it later, then you know what we're going to talk about today. So most of you probably would have read this all already. But in general, in the United States, 3.3% of children in elementary through high school are homeschooled in the United States, which I think is a huge number. That represents thousands of kids that are somehow educated at home. That's not solely home. That could be both home and dual enrolled at school or taking some enrichment classes or something like that. But 3.3% are registered as being homeschooled in some way. And that's a huge increase just from 2003 to 2016. There's some of the data out there at the NCES has. I mean, that jumped over a percentage in that time. And I'm very curious to see what the next kind of census data is going to have that comes out here and stuff, because I think there's going to be a lot that also show up there. So that jump is going to happen again, which is interesting to see how things have changed with public education over the years and who chooses to do what. So reasons that people have put forth as to why they want to homeschool their kids as adults when they're taking these surveys and finding this out. Concern about safety and school environment is number one. And I think it says a lot about the environment that people perceive the schools to have, whether that's bullying or whether that's school shooters, or whether that's just not liking the actual environment with my child being in with 25 other kids and things like that. So there's lots of reasons, but the safety of the school environment or just not liking the school environment was definitely the hugest reason people chose to stay at home. Moral instruction and religious instruction, I think, are important to point out together too. Traditionally, throughout history, people chose to homeschool, and homeschooling kind of started for religious reasons. They wanted to implement religious teachings in with their regular curriculum, and the public school wasn't going to do that. And so there's been this very long history of homeschooling using religious curriculums and things like that. So there definitely has been a shift away from that. There are way more secular curriculums and stuff out there now than there used to be, but like the roots of homeschooling definitely started with that religious base to it. And so that does still carry a lot of weight going forward right now. And then the one I skipped, dissatisfaction with academic instruction in school. And so it's just not, my child should be way far ahead of where they are, you're holding them back, or my child needs more help than what you're able to give, and lots of those kinds of things. So just wanting to have more control over that, where their child is and what they're learning at any given time. So some people just want non-traditional approaches. We want to be able to leave and go and travel and do things, or, you know, that not the rigid schedule and things like that. So child has other special needs. That's a big one I've heard too, is that my child, this school environment is not going to work for them. They need a specific approach to their education because of some special needs that they have, whether it be learning or mental health or physical disabilities. And so sometimes parents choose, if they are able, to just take care of the schooling along with taking care of those needs, like physical and mental health issues, and then other could be a variety of other things. So curriculum and figuring out what I'm actually going to teach my child at home is a huge part of homeschooling. There are tons of people out there, publishers of homeschooling, like the Rainbow Publishing House out there. They will send you a catalog, and the catalog is like 3 inches thick of all of the different curriculum that you could order from them, and stuff. And so there is no right way or wrong way to homeschool, which can also make it kind of frustrating for us who are trying to help the homeschooling families, because not everybody is working on the same thing, right? Like I know at the Ames Community School District, they're working through this Foundations reading program, and they need level books and they need these things, and everybody in the school district is going to do that. But homeschooling families is not like that. So they get their materials from all kinds of places. They're all using different things, and that is definitely one of our challenges to serving that population, is to making sure that we're there. So this is where homeschool families have gotten their curriculum or get the materials that they need from. And lots of those catalogs or publishers specifically for homeschooled curriculum is oftentimes where they go to, or websites. Websites that are specifically for homeschooling. There's a lot of them out there that do publishing for curriculum, and lots of times if you're in the homeschooling echelon, you know where those things are and you know how to get them, and they share that a lot with each other. I'm super happy and excited to see that the public library was right up there too. Most homeschool families understand the value of the economics of how much these curriculum and these materials cost, and they utilize their public library, which is great. But that also means that there's probably a lot of people who are homeschooling that are coming into the public library, and do you know who they are? Do you know how to find them and reach out to them and provide the resources for them that they need? So bookstores also, other educational publishers just that have resources that aren't specifically for homeschooling. You can kind of see down there, homeschooling organizations, churches and synagogues, or other religious. That kind of goes back to that history that there's so much homeschooling out there that does have a religious base to it. And so lots of times they reach out through churches or through their organizations to get those materials as well. Only 17% go to the local school district, which I think is really interesting, and we'll kind of touch on some of that later, on whether or not public school districts, are they supporting or are they giving materials, are they helping the homeschooled families in their area or not, or are they just kind of saying, nope, you're doing your own thing, and we're here for public if you choose to help us or not. So there's definitely differences between those two organizations, and we'll get to it more later. Likewise with private schools too. They're kind of similar there too. So just some things to note in Iowa, bring it local a little bit. There's over 15,000 students that are enrolled in the state of Iowa as homeschooling, according to stats from the 16-17 year. So there are thousands of kids in Iowa being homeschooled, and which is significant for the amount of kids we have here. Ames has about 60,000 kids, or people, residents in our community, approximately. About half of those are Iowa State students, which is not in the homeschool market. So about 4,900 kids are enrolled in just our public school that's not homeschooling. And about 350 are registered with the school as being homeschooled. So in our community, about 5,000 kids are in the schools, and about 350 are registered with the school as being homeschooled. Now, if you do not register with your school, you're not counted in those numbers. And so we actually have quite a few more families in our area, and that we serve here at the Ames Public Library, from surrounding areas that are not just registered with the school as being that. So I think that number is significantly low for our area, but in retrospect, those 350 kids, one of our elementary schools, we have 5 elementary schools, one of our elementary schools is about 500 kids. So if all of those homeschool families were to register and decide we're not homeschooling anymore, we're going to go to the public, we would need basically an entire new elementary school just to house those kids. So there's definitely, those numbers are significant as to the amount that are here and what's going on. So we've made it our mission to serve them and those families that are here and in the surrounding areas as much as we can, to help with that. All right, so the hardest part about homeschooling is, how do you find these people? How do you find that they're out there and serve them? You've created programs for them and they don't come, or you want to buy books for them to help them with their curriculums, but you don't know what to get, or things like that. So how do you connect with them? And the biggest thing that we've been able to do kind of are these 3 kind of categories that we have been successful at. Homeschool assistance program. So I'm going to talk about this quick. So the Ames Community School District has a person dedicated to developing their homeschool assistance program. So it is a place where I want to register, or I want to homeschool my children, but I need to meet state standards and whatever. And so I'm going to register with the Ames Community School District that I am homeschooling. Therefore, they assign somebody to be my liaison. They check in with me throughout the year. They help me assess my kids. But then also the homeschool assistance program has this whole enrichment program developed so that other homeschool moms who are teachers and stuff like that create science things, right? So I am terrible at music, but my child needs to be exposed to music. I can go to this enrichment program and take this music class. So I can do homeschooling, but there's also another option here where my children also get to meet other homeschooled families, which is really, really great that they're building this network. There's this community, and there's this whole enrichment program available to them. So we have a liaison with the school who is dedicated to maintaining this homeschool network, and they put out newsletters every month. They have get-togethers, they coordinate field trips together, things like that. And then they have a whole set of classes that are offered every year, science with labs and things like that. Huge thing to note also is the homeschool assistance program here in Ames also has a lending library of curriculum. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. But if your school has a homeschool assistance program, number one thing you should do is make contact with them. And if they don't have a dedicated program at the school, make contact with somebody at the school who is aware, because lots of times the homeschool families in your area will register with the school, whether they have a dedicated thing or not. They're saying, I'm in this school district and I'm homeschooling my child here at home, registered with this district, whether it's a formalized event or not. And so definitely try to connect with them and make contact with them, because they have this built-in network of families that are coordinated with them that they can reach out to. So I would say our number one form of communication with homeschool families is directly through that. So any events we have gets put in their newsletter, and if we have extra opportunities or something, I can email that person and say, hey, can you blast this out to your contact that, hey, we have this event coming up that homeschool families might be interested in, and they can communicate that for us, and we don't have to have the contact information, but then they can do that. And so making those friends making those connections is number one, if your school has something like that. The number two thing is current patrons. So who in your library do you know that comes in that homeschools, right? Do you have school-age kids that are coming to your library during the day when they otherwise would be in public school? That's a key connection to make. The patrons know other patrons. Like, homeschooling communities are very intertwined with each other. They're very interconnected, so they share resources a lot, and they talk to each other and coordinate field trips, and they do all these things together. And if you can find a couple of those homeschool patrons that come in, they will talk to other patrons, and they will say, oh, hey, I met this person. She is the homeschool person or dedicated to that at your library. You should go and talk to her if you have something. And that word spreads. So significant success that we have had is finding a couple of those patrons who are just super motivated for that social connection, and connecting with them, and then they spread that word. So some of our programs that I'll talk to later, they had ideas they got a group of families together that said, hey, we want to do this at the library. Can you help us? Sure, yes, let's do this. So we connected with this core group of families, and then it just spread. So all of the people they talked to came to the program, and they helped initiate the first couple of years of this program and set it up and get it going. They have since aged out at ours, and I'll talk about that. But finding those few patrons, talking to them, spending time with them, getting to know them, it really is making those connections on a one-to-one level that has really built things, because they are connected outside of the library, and if you can connect with them here individually, that will spread completely. Just that word of mouth kind of thing that has gone around forever. Make the effort to talk and identify with those people right away, and you build those relationships and build those connections. The third thing, social media. Okay, so homeschooling families are connected. They share resources. Like I said, they understand the economics of what they're working on, and they love to use social media and to connect that way. So what we have done is, in Ames, there are actually 2 Facebook groups that we have connected with as well. The Homeschooling Assistance Program has a program, and then there's also just this generic homeschool families in the area, Story County area. And they are constantly like, hey, I'm done with this curriculum. Does anybody need it? It's for sale. Or, hey, a bunch of us families are getting together to talk about this topic on this day. Anybody want to join us? Or, hey, we're planning a field trip to Living History Farms on this day. Anybody want to come? And so they are super connected and so we put ourselves out there and we said, hey, we're going to have these programs at the library. I'm going to put them on here. And by making those connections with the patrons, one of the patrons that I became friends with is one of the administrators of that site. So anytime we had a program, she would create an event on there for us. And so being active on those Facebook groups has been hugely beneficial. So when people are asking questions and doing things, I can plug in and say, oh, well, have you heard about this book, or have you heard about this resource? And being the Ames Public Library person on there directs them back to the library and makes them think about that. Or when we're highlighting something that homeschool families have done, we've got a beautiful end cap of check out some of those works this homeschool has done, or we have this program coming up, I will plug that on there and be like, hey, this was great. Thank you to all who came. And so they're seeing that we have these programs. But the events was huge. So be active on any sites, on any social media sites that are out there, and use the events. So the events are great because, hey, we have this event coming up. I'm kind of interested, I'm kind of not. Oh, but you will automatically get reminders for it. So just like everything else happens, because then it automatically gets to be the forefront of their minds when we have events and programs and stuff coming up, and they're more likely to attend because they're remembering that it's actually going to happen. So social media has been awesome for us. Also, use your built-in resources, right? So your local AEAs, Iowa's area education agencies, have people who are dedicated to homeschool resources and touching out. So when you register as a homeschool family with the state, you're required to meet certain expectations and turn that into the state so that they know that you are actually following through and teaching your children. The AEAs have a person dedicated to helping those people and helping meet those standards, and they will meet with them and they will hit those guidelines. Like I said, the Ames area homeschoolers and the school has that as well. So I think in Ames tend to use that, but the AEA is who does that everywhere else if you don't have that resource. So and like when I was looking, ours is Heartland AEA is where we are in the center of the state, and there's a dedicated person right there that you can reach out to and contact whoever your liaison is for your AEA. Also, we have Iowa State here, but the extension and outreach is in all 99 counties. They have amazing resources, and they're always willing to do outreach and come to the library to do things. The last 2 years of our programs have been through extension and outreach, and they do amazing work. So utilize some of those resources also that are right here, right by you, to make some of those connections as well, and that'll help a lot. All right, so programming is another kind of element that's hard. So programming was really a struggle for me when I started for homeschool families. The number one thing that homeschool families love is their flexibility, right? They love to be able to sleep in and then get to schooling when they can. They love to be able to leave the house and go run errands if they need to, or they can do schooling at night after dinner if they want to. That open schedule is so great. It's extremely hard for us librarians to plan around that, right? Because everybody wants to do something different. Some families are up at the crack of dawn, ready to go. They're getting their stuff in. Others, afternoon is better. That's when they're more focused, which is great for them and their flexibility to be able to do that and meet the needs of their kids and their families. Hard for us. So it took a long time of developing different things going forward to try to find something that would work as this mesh. So we did two things that really helped to meet the needs for programming. When we were just getting established, what we did is we put together a menu, basically. So we had a brochure that this is like the third or fourth iteration over the years. But basically, we give you a menu, and this will be linked in the handouts too, so you can kind of see this is different. But here are all of the things that we can do for you if you are a homeschooled family, and you pick. You tell us when you want these programs and when it works for you, and then we'll develop it and we'll do it. So that flexibility was key. So if you want something in the afternoon and you can get a couple other families together to do it too, great, let's do a program. Or if it's just you, we can do that. And we started small. There were times where it was just one family with 2 very young kids who came in and wanted a tour of the library. Great, we can do that. 5 years ago, we opened a brand new library, so I was giving tours a lot because they wanted to see behind the scenes. We counted that as a program because they met with me individually. They came through me. It was a homeschool family, and we did that. And then eventually, a lot of those things started turning into other things. So we have a whole list of things that we can still do that say, you pick a time that works for you. Do you want to do a book club? We can do that. Do you want to do just a one-time program on something? We can do that. Like, we were all about saying yes, no matter what happened, to each individual family that came in. And that was super key when we were starting to build our program, because that's how we made those one-on-one patron interactions that then spread. Because we did that and the one-on-one, a family came in and liked it. And then other families got together and said, well, how about we use the library and do this other program? So our monthly programs then came to fruition. So we had a couple families who got together that wanted to kind of team do a program on social studies and geography. And so they said, we'll do a monthly program. You can help us and add elements here, and we'll set it one time a month. We'll get the word out and we'll start it happening. That was 5 years ago, because it has continued since then because it was so successful. So like, once those key patrons got together, or once this ball got rolling by having a monthly program at the same time, then we were able to set a standard and now been able to maintain it, because now it's something that's established and people like. So we've done social studies, we've done math. We had somebody from Iowa State come in and did a whole math program, and that was teaching students math, but it was also more about teaching the parents how to teach math, which was really interesting. We did a book club one year, and every month we talked about a different genre, and we ILL'd a whole bunch of books and gave them to families, and it was really great. And then the last 2 years have been super successful, and we have done STEM programming. So we have worked with Iowa State Extension, our local person, Mary Wilkins, who is amazing. Her and I sit down at the beginning of the year and we plan out, they have all of these kits and all of these things that topics and stuff that they have put together. And so I want to do magnets, or I want to do electric circuits, or we want to do popcorn and marshmallows, and all these kinds of things. And so we sit down, make a plan for the year. I take half of them, she takes half of them, and we team and we do it together. So I'm not having to do everything myself. She's coordinating that with me, and it's wonderful. And it's been super well attended. The big picture on the left on the screen is Mary teaching that's our homeschool group that comes the first Thursday of every month now, because we've built this up and done this. So some of the other programs that we have done that have been successful were, one of the middle picture there is our homeschool biography fair that we did, where kids can come in and put a display together and present what they can do. The craft on the top right with the straws, a patron came and said, hey, it's February, it's National Heart Month. Can we do a program on hearts, like the human heart? So we put a program together, and that is a working model of the human heart. And then the one on the bottom right is a couple months ago, we did a marshmallow in our monthly event. And so those kids are made these marshmallow shooters, and then they're working on their distance and range and motion and stuff, and trying to hit the targets with their marshmallow shooters. Some of the things that I have realized from doing programming and how to make it successful is be flexible, right? They all want different times and different things. So say yes if somebody wants to come and do something for you and make it work. I mean, granted, there has to be boundaries, right? Like, you are not going to come in at 7 a.m. if you normally come in at 2. But schedule it when you can do it, but say yes and find a time that works for them. Times, dates, and location. The menu worked well for us, so that when we started, that they could pick what would work for them. And then we got the ball rolling into something that's more solid and consistent. Encourage your parents to get involved. So the greatest thing about these homeschool programs is that the parents are there. They're not dropping their kids off and leaving and going and doing other things so that we can do our program like some of our other school age things are. They are there and they are actively involved, which makes it amazing to do science things and stuff like that. We have a room set up and each kind of family unit sits down at a table, or they'll mix their kids and tables and adults, whatever works. And there's a parent at each table. So as we're working through things, they're sitting there with their kids. Hey, how do you put this circuit together? Or what if we try this? Or hey, have you thought about, or, and they're asking all those questions and doing all that teaching involved, because this is benefiting their homeschool curriculum to attend these events. So they're actively involved, which is great. So get the parents involved. Ask them to help you with certain things. I know next month I'm doing just the marshmallow one like we did. And I know I have some consistent parents that come. So I'm going to ask them, hey, can you come up with a target, or can you come up with an idea or something, especially if they've volunteered before. And it gets them involved and it gets that buy-in. You know they're going to come. You know they're also going to be talking to other people. And they like to feel useful. They don't want to just sit in a program and let their kids go. They want to be actively involved. And so if you, or just within the program, right? I have my whole plan put together and I need these sheets handed out, or I need these marshmallows handed out. Hand it to a parent, let them do it. They're super excited to get involved and they like to feel useful, which means they have that buy-in and they'll come back. Doing something regularly once things are established, I have found is very, very important because we actually have a couple families now who they check with us what our next school year is going to be. Is it going to be the same time and stuff? Because they build their extracurricular activities around when we have our library. So the first Thursday of every month at 10 o'clock is when we're doing our library homeschool event. So they build their events around that, which is awesome that it's gotten to that point. But having something regular that they can do that has really benefited us, because then they know that there's a time where they can dedicate to the library and be able to come. Open for all ages. So homeschool families have a wide range of kids. So I'm not just going to make my event K through 2, right? Because there's a ton of kids on either side of that that need to come as well and aren't going to feel welcome. And so a family is not likely going to come. But if I make my thing so it's adaptable for kids of all ages, preschool through 5, 6, within range, then everybody feels welcome. Then the entire family feels like they can come. And those little ones might not be engaged the whole time. But I don't care if they take marshmallows and throw them around, or if they eat while they're there. They're there, and they're being exposed to this. Mom's happy because they're there, and the other kids can be learning. So it's huge that it's an all ages thing, because then the entire family can feel welcome. And skill building opportunities. So this has been a big one. Again, the patrons have great ideas for programs, and by saying yes have come some of our best programs. So the biography fair that I mentioned before, this Wright Brothers picture here is another one from it. So we had a patron that came and said, hey, my kid never gets to present anything. He doesn't get to publicly do anything to present his skills and public speaking. Can the library do something like that? And so we came up with the biography fair. Research a person, put a display together, and we'll all come and do a public event. And so we have about 25 kids every year who signed up to come to this thing. And they could work, it's very loose, right? Work together. If you have kids who want to do a display together and don't feel comfortable doing it on their own, fine. If your whole family unit wants to do one person, that's fine. If each individual kid wants to do one, great. Be flexible. But here's an opportunity for them to publicly build a skill that they wouldn't otherwise get. And it's been hugely successful. We did biography one year, we did inventors one year, science, so whatever they want, but it gives them an opportunity to build a skill that they wouldn't already have. And so if they can do that and use the library to build those skills, bonus. Also, extra one-time events. So this has been the most challenging right? But it's also been the most rewarding. So saying yes to patrons is hard, but saying yes to patrons opens doors. And so I said yes to a patron who wanted to do a heart program. And so I did my research on a human heart, and we came up with things, and we did this really great program, and it was really fun. I have since done that exact same program 4 more times. So the time that I put into it and the effort we put into it has totally paid off, because that group wanted to come in and do it, but then another group wanted to come in and do it, and then a local school wanted me to come in and do it, and things like that. So it's really been great, because if the effort that you put in can then be reused and redone, is awesome. The same, we did a Christmases around the world. So how do different places around the world celebrate Christmas? And there's all of these slides and stuff, and it took a while to put together, but I've done it 4 or 5 other times throughout the years. That's not one that changes. And so kind of every year I expect a group to ask for that program, which has been great, because then I have it, I can pull it out, and it's ready to go. So saying yes to patrons is hard, because you're going to put some of those things together, but it's also really rewarding when it turns out great, and then you can reuse it, and you're ready to go, and it makes things in the future so much easier. Okay, so collections, because homeschooling is tough. It's challenging, because there's a million different curriculums out there, and they all want something different. So we have set very clear guidelines on what we do and what we don't do. And I want to preface this from the start. I am extremely grateful that our library has a collection development policy that backs me up on a lot of things with collections, with homeschool families. So number one thing is, I hope your library, and if it doesn't, go out and establish one. But your collection policy is hugely important, to make sure that the things that people want you to buy to support their curriculum, whether or not you have the budget or the time or the resources or the space to be able to hold those things, are they going to get circulated again, stuff like that. So what we do, we provide guidebooks and magazines and support for choosing the right kind of homeschooling for your family. There are a million different ways to homeschool. Do you want to do the Charlotte Mason method? Do you want to do unschooling? Do you want to do threads? Do you want to do, there's a million different ways. So we do not provide curriculum, but we do provide the guidebooks to help you figure out which curriculum is for you, which method is going to work right for your family. So we definitely have resources to help you figure that out. We also will help you with things that you need for your curriculum, right? Like, do you have this list of middle grade fiction or nonfiction titles that you need? We will get those for you. We will either purchase them for the library, which we often do, or we will interlibrary loan them and get them from another library. There are times where we can't get it. It's just not available, and we let them know that. But we will make an effort to get for them what they need. And that isn't huge, because they know that they can come to us first and ask us first what they need, and we will make the effort to get it for them and save them the money of having to go out and buy it themselves or research who in the area has something or something like that. So if we say yes, we will try to get it for you, they will learn to come to us first. Also digital resources, like we will try to support them in any way they can. So if we can't get a book, can we get it on Overdrive and get the ebook of it? Can we find it on one of our online resources and stuff like that? We'll go the extra mile to try to figure out how to get it for them. What we will not do, we will not purchase everything they want, no matter how old it is, because they want everything old. If it is from the 1950s, that does not necessarily make it a good book. Even if your curriculum says so, it does not mean it is a good book. History changes, right? Like, we know that things we knew about World War II 20 years ago is not what we know about World War II now, right? Like, we know more. Research has told us more. Not that old things can be good. right? And they serve a purpose, and we need those. It is part of our history. We need that. And if they want those things, I would be happy to try to ILL them for you, but I will not purchase books that are 60 years old. I also will not purchase curricula. They are hugely expensive. They are massive. There's a million different kinds, and they are expensive. And they change every year. They're getting updated, just like other things. And so we won't. We are lucky that we have a homeschool assistance program here who has a lending library, who purchases curricula, and parents can go, they can look through different curricula to see which ones they can check it out and take it home and use it. So lots of times we are saying, we will purchase books to support your curriculum, but we will not buy the curriculum, but you can go here. So we're providing them with another resource and another outlet that they can do that. We also will not take entire lists of books that they need for their curriculum and get them all for them. It is not something that we have the staff time and the capability to do. We will encourage them, and we will build those skills, and we will say, yes, we love to get things for you. Yes, let us help you. Let me show you where you can go to tell us what you need. And we let them do the legwork for us. And we encourage, so we say, yes, but yes, I want to help you. Yes, I will get you your books, but you need to help me here, and you need to do some of the legwork yourself, because we just don't have the time and resources to be able to take an entire list of 100 books, look them all up, and figure out what we have and what we don't have. It's not a good use of our resources. So number one thing, collection development policy, because when I have to tell a patron, book is from the 1960s, I can't actually get it for you, or I'm not going to purchase it for you, even though you see it on Amazon and it's in print, I go back to my collection development policy. And that's what I use to say, no, this doesn't support how we are purchasing books at this time. I just can't get it for you. So that is the basis and the foundation for collections, and what we can do on that. Yes, I'm serious. Old books are not good just because your curriculum says so. Okay, so services. This is the other thing that we provide for homeschooling families is targeted services. So we have educator accounts, and they are, I'm gonna wrap this up soon so I can have some time for questions, but they are educator accounts. You get things for 6 weeks. Our normal checkout is 3. So you get it twice as long. You can put anything on hold that you want. We will pull it for you and have it ready for you. And it helps you keep your personal items separate from your school use items, which is awesome. And so teachers and homeschool families have really jumped onto this and have really liked that there's this special card out there that they can use that gets them more, which has been great. Also, when I said we encourage them to do the work themselves on their collections, so we have a request form online that they can fill out, and that says, I need this book, please get it for me. And so if they fill that out with their information, we will take it, we will process it, we will say, yes, we can purchase this, no, we can't, we need to ILL it, or if we can't get it, then we can get back to them and say, but we show them this online form. It's super easy to go to and get. Please fill out this request. We will do whatever we can. We usually have a limit of 5 on those. For homeschool families, we usually fudge that a little bit. So that's a targeted service, right? So if you have 10 books that you need, submit them. We'll see what we can get. And we'll see what we can do for that. So we give them a little bit more leeway there than a usual regular patron. Instruction, so we will do some of those specific targeted events and things that they need. If they need help navigating our website or our e-resources or something like that, we will sit down with them one-on-one and teach them how to do that, help them identify primary sources for their resources, and give them some inside tips on how to really utilize our services. And then special collections is another thing that we have that our homeschool families have really liked. We have the picture there shows, we have Rubbermaid bins that are STEM kits that are a targeted topic. You see bridges and patterns there. So this kit talks about bridges, what a bridge is, what are the physics and the science involved in making a successful bridge work, and then here are the materials to make your own bridge. try it out, play with it, see how you can get it to work. So it's a whole kit dedicated to a topic of a STEM learning kit. Also, we have hotspots that you can check out, and any of this information I'd be happy to share with how we put these things together too. If you contact me later, I'd totally be able to get you some info on them. But hotspots, we have homeschool families that do not have internet at home. They can check out hotspots and be able to get on to some of the online resources that are out there. Adventure Pass, so they want to plan field trips and things like that. They are economically focused. A lot of the homeschool families are, so check out an Adventure Pass. Go to the Science Center, go to Blank Park Zoo, some of those kinds of things on the library that we can provide them, those things. And then we also have a new resource coming out soon that are park packs. It is a backpack with maps and guides to our local area parks, and they are themed. So here's a bird watching one, and there's binoculars, and there's bird identification guides, or there's a bug one, and there's a net and containers. So if you find bugs, you can look at them and study them and things like that. So all of those hotspots and STEM kits and stuff are not specific to homeschool families. They are available for all of our people to check out, but we target market them to homeschool families so that they know that they're there. And there have been times where I have pulled items out of those kits to use in my homeschool events. And so then we've worked to get those families, get those kits to the families, get them on hold for other ones and stuff too. So we target market them, but they are definitely available for the whole library. Okay, so you want to get started. How do you do that? So hopefully this presentation has kind of gotten you there a little bit, given you some ideas. And
Bree, this is Angie. I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt for like 1 second. This is amazing. I should have mentioned this in the beginning, and I didn't want people at this part to panic. Bree, every slideshow you see at all of these, at every session for Kids First is going to be shared on the State Library website after the conference. So Bree's presentation right now with all these links, with everything you've seen so far, and every other presentation you see, the slide decks are going to be shared on the State Library website, so you'll be able to click and explore these links on your own. So I should have said that at the beginning. I'm saying it now so you won't panic when you get to this slide. Although, of course, if you want to reach Bree directly at any point, you can do that. But the slide decks, and also when she said the menu, all of that, the supplemental handouts, anything you would have gotten in person, they're all going to be shared on the State Library website, so don't panic about that.
Perfect.
And now I'm going to let you keep talking again.
Thanks, Angie. That's great. Yeah, so here are just some resources that I have found useful over the years. You can check them out at will. The Iowa Department of Education, those are their guidelines for what they need to do if they're going to be a homeschool family. So you don't have to know that back and forth and up and down, but it's good to kind of get a sense of what they need to do, just so you have that in the back of your head. Your AEAs, Read Aloud Revival is a website, podcast, blog. Sarah McKenzie she's a homeschooling mom who started this, why it's great to read aloud to your kids. I highly recommend the podcast, and she has amazing book lists on there, but it's all with a homeschool focus. And so I've learned a lot about homeschooling and some of the conventions that are out there and things like that just by listening to her podcast and stuff. And also I'm super motivated to read out loud to my kids because of it. So just one of those. And then, so this will get posted as well, but there is a link here. So this is just our brochure. I want to say that this has been super helpful for us because it gives something for us to actually hand a homeschool family. Oh, you're homeschooling. Here, we have somebody here who's dedicated to helping you. Her contact information is right here, and she can get anything you need. And so they know that I'm there, and our staff is really great about handing these out. But they can take this with us and look at it when they have time, but it's something that they have tangible to remind themselves, oh, the library has something specifically for me to help. And it's been great to hand out. So that's what I've got. I am totally open to questions if there are any. I have not been able to keep up with the chat and stuff. So Angie, I think you've been doing that. So if there's any questions, I'd love to take them.
I have. So I'm sure, and also anybody, you can kind of weigh in with it now, but the ones that I've observed so far, so you can also, Bree, at this point, you can open the chat, I think.
Yep.
But the ones I've seen so far, someone wanted to know at the beginning if you had specific Facebook groups that the homeschoolers were involved in. If you could repeat that.
Yes, sure. Yep, there's two. So I have not created homeschool groups, but that is something that you can do if they don't already exist. We have two very active ones here in Ames that already exist. So I just joined them and then post and tried to be active on them.
I agree. So looking for your local ones, I think if you kind of search by your community name, that was in my experience. There was one local for our whole, because I lived in an area that was rural, and so it was everybody. It wasn't just in the town, it was everybody who was like, if you were in a farm or you were in one of the far out areas. So and related to that, someone wanted to know, do you post on social media as your personal account or the library account?
Good question. So I haven't figured out a way I can post for the representing the library on our library page, but I have not figured out how to post, and I'm not sure I want to. So I do it personally myself, but it's taken me 10 years to build up and meet enough of these people that they know that my name is the library. I always make sure that when I'm posting, I say something about the Ames Public Library has this, and this resource. Lots of times I will say, contact me or send me a PM, and I can hook you up with these things or something like that. So I try to represent myself as that, but I do use my personal one, just because we're a bigger library and we don't always have access to post from the library. If you do can post from your library, I think that's great. You can do it either way. Sometimes having my picture on it makes it more personal than having the library's logo on it, but whatever is going to work. So I've built up enough relationships that I feel like I can post as myself and they know me now.
And someone asked this as well, and I kind of answered it in the chat, but I'd like to hear your answer as well, which is are these programs open to everyone?
Yes.
Open to the other patrons, not just homeschooling patrons.
Our meeting room policy and our program policy here at the library is that anything that happens here at the library is open to everyone.
Right.
And so there was a time where we had a homeschool event on a Thursday morning, and it was actually a no school day, and we had some other families come in. You know what? The kids are going to have fun and they're going to benefit from that and stuff like that. When I make my announcement and when we are marketing for it, we're saying homeschool families. And so they know that that's who it's for, but we're not going to turn people away.
Right. And I said that too, that also sometimes when we would do events like our Battle of the Books challenge or something, they liked it when the homeschool kids liked mixing with kids from school. And so I think that was kind of a follow-up. Nobody asked this, but I'm wondering if you can drop your email address in the comments.
Yes.
Just so that if anybody wants to reach out directly to you, they can do that. And your contact information, again, will be on the website, but since we're all here in the chat right now, if you want to drop it in there.
And
I
go to my
think
slide too, because it's on here too.
Yeah, and also you ended with that. I should have let you get to the end.
That's okay.
I'll let you wrap up, and then we'll follow at the end. Do you have a wrap up you want to do to hear this one? Yeah.
Yeah, no, this was one of my groups that came one year. And so thank you very much for attending the session. I hope you came away with some practical tips that you can take back to your library. Again, I am totally reachable anytime by email or on social media or whatever here at Ames Public Library. I'd be happy to reach out to you and talk more about it. So like I said, it's been a long time that we've built this up, but we're at a really good place. And so I hope you guys can too. And I totally just realized I'm wearing the same shirt right now that is in that picture. And I did not.
Hey, that's good, Mojo. Yeah, it's good. It's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I realized I wore this top that looked really good in the mirror, and now it kind of looks to me like pajamas in this. So it's fine. And I want to say Kelly asked, how do you, and I don't know if any of us have the answer to this, but how are you still connecting in quarantine with the homeschoolers? And I think that's something we're all going to be working on in weeks to come. So we don't expect you to have a perfect answer, but tips would be appreciated. So
yes, yeah. So I think social media is how we've been able to connect to everybody, right? That's no matter where you're at, they're there. So again, it's hard because we don't have the services, but offering our digital services to them, making sure that they're aware of what's going on. So I don't have like an email database list of everybody who I've contacted over the years, but I'm reaching out to the homeschool assistance program and on the Facebook groups and stuff like that, and just reiterating the fact that we're there. We've got these online assistants for them if they need help with things, and we'll get back with actual programs at the library and books as soon as we can.
So thank you all so much. If you have any other questions, you can follow up with Bree and with us. And so now, Bree, thank you. I'm going to give you a round of applause. Woo, woo, woo. It was great. Thank you so
all
much
for attending.
It was amazing. Just so you know, there was like at the height there, I think there was 69 people in here. So it was a great turnout. And we all want to thank you so much, and thanks for being first and pulling the Band-Aid off. And I hope you stick around for the rest and you can be a participant.